Imagine walking into a high-end restaurant in Chicago on a freezing winter night. You're tired, your feet ache from a double shift, and all you want is to finish serving tables so you can get home to your little girl. Then a group of rich customers starts laughing at you, laughing at your worn shoes, your tired eyes, the fact that you're a black single dad scraping by on tips. One of them leans back, smirks, and says something so cruel it cuts deeper than the cold outside. And in that moment, something inside you snaps. You look him dead in the eye and say, "Mock me again, I dare you." The whole table goes quiet. Even the billionaire sitting nearby freezes. What happens next will make you believe in the quiet power of kindness like never before. If this story already has your heart racing, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It means the world to our little community here on. Now let's get into the story. Marcus Johnson wiped the same table for the third time that night, even though it was already clean. Habit. When you're a single dad working double shifts at the Oak Room, one of Chicago's fanciest downtown restaurants, you learn to keep moving. Keep your head down. Keep smiling. His 7-year-old daughter, Aaliyah, was home with her grandmother, probably drawing another picture of the two of them in a big house with a yard. Marcus kept those drawings taped to the inside of his locker. They were the reason he put up with everything. The night started like most others. Wealthy couples, birthday parties, businessmen flashing platinum cards. Marcus moved between tables with practiced ease, balancing trays, refilling glasses, remembering every allergy and preference. Most people didn't even look him in the face. He was used to that. What he wasn't used to was the table in the corner, for young men in designer jackets, loud voices, and too much money to spend wisely. They had been there 2 hours, ordering the most expensive bottles just to leave them half full. And they had noticed Marcus. It began with small digs. "Hey, man, you sure you belong in a place like this?" One of them laughed. Another added, "Single dad, huh? No wonder you look so tired. Who's watching your kid while you're out here serving us?" Marcus kept his face neutral. He had heard worse. He thought of Aaliyah's smile and kept pouring wine. But the comments grew sharper. One of the men, a tall guy with a Rolex that cost more than Marcus's car, leaned back and said loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "I bet his daughter's gonna end up just like him, stuck waiting tables while real people live." The group cracked up. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. He set the bottle down carefully. Then the Rolex guy looked him straight in the eye and added, "Go on, say something, single dad. Or are you too scared?" Marcus straightened. The restaurant noise seemed to fade. He looked at the man and said, calm but clear, "Mock me again. I dare you." The table went dead silent. A few other diners turned. Even the soft jazz music felt too loud. And at the next table over, a man in a simple dark suit who had been quietly eating alone slowly put down his fork. That man was Richard Hale, founder of Hale Industries, one of the wealthiest people in the Midwest. He had come in alone that night, no security, no flash. Just a quiet dinner after a long day. He had been watching the whole scene unfold. Richard didn't speak right away. He simply stared at Marcus, then at the young men. The Rolex guy shifted in his seat, suddenly less bold. Marcus stood there, heart pounding, already calculating how fast he would get fired. He needed this job. Aaliyah needed this job. But something in him had refused to stay quiet one more time. What none of them knew was that 3 weeks earlier, on a rainy Tuesday, Marcus had done something that didn't make sense to most people. He had been walking to the bus stop after a late shift when he saw an older woman sitting on a bench near the alley, soaked, clutching a small bag, looking lost. Most people hurried past. Marcus stopped. He offered her his umbrella. When he realized she was confused and cold, he walked her 2 blocks to a 24-hour diner, bought her coffee and soup with money from his tip jar, and waited until a social worker he knew could come help. The woman had kept thanking him, calling him son, saying she had gotten separated from her family during a medical appointment. Marcus never got her full name. He just made sure she was safe and went home late, missing the last bus and walking the extra miles in the rain. That woman was Eleanor Hale, Richard's mother. Richard had spent days searching for the waiter his mother couldn't stop talking about, the kind young man who treated her like family when she was most vulnerable. When he finally tracked Marcus to the Oak Room, he came to see for himself. He hadn't planned on speaking that night. He just wanted to observe. But when he heard those young men tear into Marcus, something shifted. Richard stood up slowly. The entire section noticed. The Rolex guy's face drained of color when he recognized him. Richard walked over, looked at the 4 young men, and said quietly, "I think you've enjoyed enough of this restaurant's hospitality for one evening. The bill is on me. Leave." They scrambled out without another word. Then Richard turned to Marcus. The dining room was watching. Marcus braced himself for the worst. Instead, Richard extended his hand. "My mother told me about a waiter who bought her soup and walked her to safety in the rain. She said he had the kindest eyes she'd ever seen. I believe that was you." Marcus froze. He remembered the older woman, the way she had held his hand and called him son. He never imagined she was connected to anyone powerful. Richard continued, voice steady but warm. "I've spent my life building companies. But I never forgot what my mother taught me, that real wealth is measured by how you treat people who can't do anything for you. You showed her kindness when she needed it most. Tonight I watched you stand up for your dignity without raising your voice or losing your composure. That takes a different kind of strength." He offered Marcus a seat. Over the next hour, while the restaurant quietly continued around them, Richard listened to Marcus's story, how he had raised Aaliyah alone after her mother passed, how he worked every shift he could to keep her in a good school, how he still found time to volunteer at the community center on Sundays. Richard didn't interrupt. He just listened. When the night ended, Richard did something unexpected. He didn't just leave a massive tip. He offered Marcus a position in the hospitality division of his company, better pay, daytime hours, benefits, and a chance to grow. More importantly, he invited Aaliyah and Marcus to Sunday dinner at his home so his mother could thank the young man who had helped her in person. Marcus almost said no out of pride. Then he thought of Aaliyah's drawings of a bigger life. He accepted. 6 months later, Marcus was no longer waiting tables. He managed a team at one of Hale's hotels, still treating every guest, and every coworker, with the same respect he had always shown. Aaliyah had a real backyard. And every so often, Eleanor would visit, bringing cookies and calling Marcus son, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The young men who mocked him that night never returned. But the story of what happened traveled quietly through the city, not as gossip about a billionaire, but as a reminder that kindness has a way of circling back when you least expect it. Marcus still keeps one of Aaliyah's old drawings in his office. In it, a little girl and her dad stand in front of a house, smiling. Underneath, in crayon, she had written, "Kindness is our superpower." And she was right. In a world that often rewards the loudest voices and the biggest bank accounts, it is still the quiet acts of decency that change lives. Marcus didn't help Eleanor because he knew who she was. He helped her because it was the right thing to do. That single choice, offering an umbrella, buying a bowl of soup, treating a stranger like family, set off a chain of events that lifted him and his daughter into a better chapter. But the real reward was never the job or the recognition. It was knowing that, even on the hardest nights, he had stayed true to the man he wanted his daughter to see. So the next time you pass someone who looks tired, or different, or simply in need of a little grace, remember Marcus. Remember the power of choosing kindness when it would be easier to look away. You never know whose mother, whose child, or whose future you might be touching. And you never know how that kindness might one day stand up for you when the world tries to knock you down. Go out there and be the reason someone else believes in good people again. The world needs more of that.